So cringe. Guilty.
No! God, please, no!
Welcome back to Torn Apart, and today I got the chance to see Fantastic Beasts 3, aka The Secrets of Dumbledore, aka Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, The Secrets of Dumbledore. When it comes to this franchise, it's always been a bit confusing, meaning that we don't really know where it's going, we don't really know exactly what kind of story it's trying to tell, whether it is about Newt and his fantastic beasts, or whether it is this darker story that David Yates seems to be really interested in, about how a wizard is weirdly the villain, but also trying to prevent World War II. And how do you mash those things together? Am I right? This film here really is the best one in the franchise when it comes to putting all of these things together. I'm gonna start by giving you a spoiler-free review, of course, of this new Fantastic Beasts movie, and then we'll have to go into spoilers because I think there are a lot of interesting things to discuss, especially when it comes to what they tried to kind of fix when it comes to the J.K. Rowling script that she built up with the first and the second film specifically, and that Steve Kloves just was trying to patch things together so that we could move to something better.
Our war with the muggles begins today!
First of all, for Harry Potter fans, I want to say that this is probably the first time that, even from when the first Fantastic Beasts movie was announced, that I kind of felt like there was magic in the room. I was watching this film and I was like, yes, we're actually having an adventure. It doesn't feel like this is just David Yates being dark and emo and gloomy. It doesn't really feel like they're shoehorning as much backstory to their favorite characters as they were trying to do for the first previous films. It kind of feels like they're doing world building in the best way possible. If you love, for example, the Harry Potter films, but you've thought that it was really lacking when it comes to the diversity or when it comes to the world building itself, especially if you're a fantasy fan, Harry Potter kind of focuses a lot on the Harry Potter characters. It doesn't really focus on world building itself.
I'm gonna fucking put my dick in the owl!
Unless it is relating to the main characters themselves. And the thing that I really like about this third movie here is that we actually get to explore the world, we actually get to explore the wizarding world and to see something different and to explore and to go on to different separate adventures with our favorite characters or our new characters.
Let's go on an adventure, a sailing adventure. There's a great big world to explore. Let's go on an adventure, a sailing adventure, for fun, surprises and more.
I had an incredible amount of fun, mostly because this film, it was, when you actually try to like explain what the plot is, it is quite simple when you think about it. They're trying once again to stop Grindelwald from achieving something. There are not any MacGuffins that need to be found. They're not going on a quest fetched to find a special artifact that is supposed to help them defeat the villain. No, this is a very simplistic plot and it is quite chaotic, but it is chaotic on purpose. And I actually feel like the people behind the script, they were 100% doing this on purpose, showing how this is the result of two previous films. A lot of things were set up. Some of those things are gonna pay off in this film, but also it is very clear that this film here was existing purely to tie up a lot of loose ends so that they could go into something more interesting and something more fun. And it kind of worked perfectly, but I will have to admit that if you like a couple of plot things from the first few films, I feel like you're definitely not gonna have as much fun as I did when it comes to this film here. Credence is a really good example. If you like that character and if you think that that character deserved more attention, more character development. Well, he doesn't really have that much at the end of the day in this film, but it is dealt in an interesting way that doesn't like destroy like the canon too much when it comes to the Dumbledore family. Other things would be, for example, the fact that Johnny Depp has been, of course, deleted completely from the Grindelwald character and Madds Mikkelsen has taken his place. It changes the character of Grindelwald quite a lot, because I find that in this film, for example, I mean, I kind of see why Dumbledore would fall in love with Grindelwald, especially with Madds Mikkelsen Grindelwald, because he's very charming and he doesn't look as weird as Johnny Depp did with his interpretation of Grindelwald.
I say the muggles are not lesser, but other. Not worthless, but of other value.
I know a man with a goat. Good, I can go like this.
And that is not necessarily a compliment, because I actually found Grindelwald to be quite fascinating when he looked incredibly weird. He had that perfect white hair and those piercing eyes and those cheekbones that could literally cut through your soul. And I feel like it perfectly went with the concept that we're trying to work with when it comes to World War II and the rise of fascism and Nazism in Europe.
He was so lovely to work with. He has this extraordinary kind of intensity in his character, but he also has a charm and a kind of playfulness in Grindelwald that I think it's not as easy as him just being a sort of bad guy, the character. He sort of seduces you at the same time and charms you and begins to kind of mess with your head and go, what am I thinking here?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I didn't really like what Madds Mikkelsen was doing in this film here, but mostly because I feel like what Johnny Depp was doing from a character's perspective was way more interesting, and it was kind of a shame. Grindelwald actually felt quite bland in this film here. It didn't feel as threatening, it didn't feel as powerful as he did in the previous films.
And also the fact that Queenie joins the Nazi wizards and doesn't do anything for this entire movie.
But at the end of the day, I feel like this film here, it was really building up to being kind of like a transition piece in between different acts of the Fantastic Beasts franchise, and it still worked out quite well. This film kind of felt like going through a Fantastic Beasts adventure as if it was part of some kind of like series and this was just one chapter of it. It didn't really feel like it was just trying to redo, you know, the last Harry Potter movie and recreate this kind of important battles for the sake of humanity. It didn't really feel like that. It had stakes, of course, but the stakes were way more subtle and way more interesting enough. They were politically involved. They kind of reminded me of the last two Hunger Games movies, so I feel like if you liked those two, you're definitely gonna enjoy this Fantastic Beasts movie here. That is basically everything I can say when it comes to the spoiler-free review. I really enjoyed this film. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, and it is the highest ranked movie within this franchise for now. But let's go into spoilers and find out why. First of all, if we want to expand what I was trying to say before when it comes to the politics of this film, it's kind of interesting that this is happening right now because I'm shooting this video from France, by the way. We're going through an election where there are a lot of far-right movements and parties which are gathering a lot of attention here. And it is literally the same thing in the Fantastic Beasts 3 movie. This is the movie where Grindelwald is not doing any kind of weird spy work. He's 100% committed to going through the politics ways and trying to gather as many followers as possible. And it is interesting just because it is so different from what Voldemort was trying to do. For example, Voldemort would just kill as many people as possible, and those who didn't want to be killed or those who survived would end up following him because they felt like they didn't have a choice.
What about second breakfast?
Grindelwald is actually trying to win some hearts, like he was doing at the end of Fantastic Beasts 2, for example, The Crimes of Grindelwald. He's trying to do that again within this film here. He's trying to become like the head of the international like wizard ministry or something like that. It is not very clear exactly what their purpose is within the universe of Harry Potter, but they seem to kind of be the NATO of the wizarding world, meaning that they can influence everything that goes on when it comes to like the different ministries of magic within different countries. So it is interesting from that perspective, but of course this film here is not the kind of like all-out war that you would expect. It is a film that is called The Secrets of Dumbledore after all, and it does deliver on that aspect as well.
Harry, did you put your mother name in the goddamn cabinet? You little piece of answer me!
No, sir.
You little you motherfucker! You little lying
I swear, sir.
You think I'm joking, Potter?
For example, in the film, it is revealed that Credence is actually Aberforth's son, so it was not like a younger brother. These two Dumbledores that we knew from the past, he is actually Dumbledore's nephew. When I say Dumbledore, I mean Albus, of course. And I kind of like that because like there was so many different speculations about like how would it be possible that they managed to hide like another sibling, like another Dumbledore across the entire Harry Potter franchise. And this makes a lot of sense, especially if he's going through the same thing that the Dumbledore's sister went through. It would make sense that they would try to hide him as much as possible because they maybe would be ashamed, or maybe also because they would be so emotionally like impacted by what has happened like a second time. Not only it happened to their sister, it happened also to this other child who was actually completely put aside by Aberforth for reasons that we don't really know that well. They didn't really explore that much, but I don't really mind because I always felt like that Credence as a character, he worked really well within the first film, and in the second film it just felt really weird that we spent so much time developing his story, and the reveal that he was part of the Dumbledore family of course was incredibly cringy because we didn't really know exactly how it was possible. But I did like how it evolved at the end of the day and what the explanations were. But at the end of the day, he is literally just there to walk around and not do anything for the entire film. So it is a bit of a shame for Ezra Miller, especially because he's a good actor. When it comes to Dumbledore, this is the movie that really makes him shine. In the second film, he was literally just a cameo. If you liked him from the second film, he gets a lot of time to shine in this film here. Jude Law's performance is really, really good. There are a lot of really small mannerisms that really remind me of Dumbledore from the Harry Potter franchise.
Why do we fall? So that we can learn to pick ourselves up. Harry, it isn't how you are like. It's how you are not.
And there are so many tiny moments that really made me almost tear up because they reminded me of someone who we dearly loved, someone who was really secretive, but also someone who'd be able to inspire so many different people to bring out the best within themselves. I really like this, and it really shined when it comes to this film here.
I also like the fact that in this movie there are barely any muggles. Fuck muggles.
Of course, I love the Newt. There are actually a lot of interesting videos talking about the representation of masculinity and the fact that Newt is a really, really weird leading character for this kind of franchise. And in this film, once again, is really, really cute.
When men in our culture express this kind of vulnerability, they're often labeled weak, because nurturing and sensitivity are things that are stereotypically associated with women and with femininity. And by framing these attributes as positive and heroic aspects of a male adventure hero, it goes a long way to challenging regressive gender expectations.
And what I was saying at the beginning is actually really true when I say that this time around it really feels like Newt is there for a reason. Newt wants to be there. He's not trying to accomplish different other things at the same time. He's committed to this mission here for a very specific reason, and it's also because he's trying to protect his magical beasts. And I just love how every single character kind of felt motivated in a different way to join this crew. When I was talking about chaos before, basically like Grindelwald has access to visions of the future, which will allow him to try to get as much power as possible, and it will allow him also to like be always a couple of steps ahead of all the other characters. So they basically decide to just embrace the chaos and have a plan, but also not have a plan, and do different things at the same time. This feels very chaotic at first, but at the same time it is kind of really fun to see because it pushes our characters into different scenarios that we haven't really seen before. And that's what I was talking about when I was like, this is an adventure movie, this is an adventure fantasy movie. This movie here also has the most amount of magic that I've seen in probably any Harry Potter film or any Fantastic Beasts film. This film is literally like 80% magic and 20% like normal decors, normal locations and costumes. I love the fact that they're really embracing the magical adult aspect of this. The idea that these adults, of course, since they are adept users of magic, they would be using it in any kind of different interesting ways, and the special effects are just incredibly beautiful and incredibly fun to look at, and they don't just feel like the Battle of Hogwarts where people are just like flinching like wands at each other of different like colors. But it is very clear that the purpose of this film was fixing the mistakes being set up by J.K. Rowling in the past of this franchise here, and it really gives me hope when it comes to the next few films. I think there are 2 more that are supposed to come out, but at the end of the day, this film of course is not really perfect. It's actually quite funny how this movie could literally be renamed like Fantastic Beasts, or how to shoehorn magical beasts within the plot as many times as possible. There are a lot of really cool creatures actually in this film. They look amazing, and to be honest, as a fantasy fan myself, it's really cool how they managed to make the creatures not only feel fun and weird looking and original, but also dangerous. You know, like those scenes, for example, where they're kind of doing that weird like scorpion dance, and like all the other insects are going around them like that, and it felt really silly like from looking at the trailer, but within the context of the scene itself, it is actually incredibly fun, but also incredibly scary. I was actually quite surprised of how there were some sparks of violence within the series that really like made me scared for the characters, even though like I know that most of them are quite safe, especially within like the 3rd film of a 5-movie franchise. But the effects were so good that they scared me. They really made me believe into all of these adventures that we're going through. And I just loved that this movie here is all about like creativity, is all about setting up new different scenarios that we have never seen within the Harry Potter franchise. Even though it was not setting up as many new things as other movies have done, it felt like it was setting up original things within the franchise that will have repercussions for the future of the franchise itself. So it didn't feel as much as winks, you know, to the audience and to things that we know. For example, if you think about all the Lestrange links within the 2nd film, that they weren't really that useful at the end of the day, besides just using the family name Lestrange, because we know how important it is within the Harry Potter franchise. This movie actually, I'm pretty sure that it works as a standalone movie as well, which is quite refreshing. I love when movies within a franchise can do that. Another thing that I wanted to mention, of course, is how they decided to end this movie. Whether it is the final act itself with its resolution when it comes to the Grindelwald plotline, or whether it is the final few moments on screen of our characters, I love the fact that it really doesn't go the way that you're expecting it to, because you're expecting it to be like a huge battle in which a lot of people are gonna die and perish and change camps and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, no, even though it can feel kind of underwhelming, because it is literally how main characters like discussing and basically people realizing that Grindelwald is just a lying asshole, you know, and I just really like that. And also, of course, the final few moments of this film here were incredibly cute. I had no idea how they were gonna finish this film, especially since the 2nd film ended on such a pessimistic note, you know, for like just a 2nd movie in a franchise. And it felt just so refreshing to see our main characters all happy together. It really reminded me of the Harry Potter movies, because at the end of the day, the Harry Potter movies, even though our characters went through a lot of really traumatizing things, they always ended on a really happy and uplifting mood, and you just felt so happy that everyone was reunited, and at the end of the day that evil wasn't really winning, and that they still decided to be happy, to celebrate life and to go on with their own story.
I've been thinking about something Dumbledore said to me.
What's that?
That even though we've got a fight ahead of us, we've got one thing that Voldemort doesn't have. Yeah? Something worth fighting for.
And I don't really know if that's a nostalgic thing, but this movie really got to me, and I can't wait to watch it again, to be honest. But that is basically it when it comes to Fantastic Beasts 3. For me, it's a huge recommendation. If you hated Crimes of Grindelwald, I'm pretty sure you're definitely going to enjoy this. Of course, as I said before, you're probably not going to enjoy how Grindelwald changes as a character, but I do think still that the romance with Dumbledore works quite well, because they seem to have a lot of respect and warmth for each other, which I really enjoyed. For me, it was quite important to make this video because I was really not feeling the excitement when it comes to this franchise anymore.
Don't care, still don't care, I don't care.
But it is kind of sad because it is one of the best scripted and put together magic universes that we've ever seen when it comes to the big screen, so when it comes to the cinema. And if this one doesn't work, then we have literally almost nothing. Maybe the Percy Jackson series is gonna do something different, I don't know yet. But I'm so happy to be able to tell you that this movie is actually good. And I'm really looking forward to more of these movies here. Let me know in the comments what you thought of Fantastic Beasts and whether you're feeling some kind of Harry Potter fatigue and whether it actually like follows the same kind of vibes when it comes to Star Wars, for example. Are you excited for the next few films, or is it just me? Don't forget to like and subscribe. Every single like that you drop will go to one of those incredibly cute creatures within the Fantastic Beasts universe, because there are so many more in this film here, and I wanna just discover even more than that, because Fantastic Beasts are the bomb. Everybody loves them, and I want more.
Suck my pixie dick, you chubby coon! I'll rupture your fucking anus with my massive bear cock!
I'm Patrick, and this is Torn Apart. Da 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 da